In case you haven't heard about White Knight before, it's not your fault because this game came out of nowhere. This is the result of a partnership between the new independent studio Awesome and famous publisher Activision that dwells into survival territory with adventure sensibilities, film noir elements and a bit of horror. At first glance, these parts don't seem to fit well with each other, but White Knight is proof that they actually do. What begins like a classic noir movie with an enigmatic protagonist that narrates events in first person quickly becomes a horror story that uses some elements from other games like Resident Evil. The whole game takes place in and around a haunted house, and the story is unveiled bit by bit through text journals scattered all over the place. Although at first the texts seem to have no real connection to the events that transpire, near the end they start to make sense and paint the complete picture. White Knight has a very interesting and captivating story, but I was more impressed with the graphics of the game. Awesome Studios developed its own graphics engine which renders everything in 3D and uses a smart lighting system to show the player only the elements which are directly lit. When you combine that with the black and white color palette, the result is really something special. Fire and other unusual elements in the game add a bit of color in White Knight, adding to the overall aesthetic of the game. Light is a very important resource in this game. The lack of light from a matchstick or from a light bulb prevents you from carrying on with the story. You always have to keep matches on you to light up the dark places, and turning on the lights becomes a recurring theme throughout the game. The light can also be used as a weapon against the evil ghosts that linger in the shadows. It's actually the only weapon you have. The thing is that light from matches isn't enough for fighting evil spirits. To kill the ghosts, you can only use artificial sources, and electricity is a hard-earned commodity in White Knight. Most of the game you'll run around the dark corridors to turn on light switches, plug cables into the walls, and solve puzzles. That's pretty much all there is to the gameplay. Each room offers a fixed perspective, which can be problematic because transitions between rooms can get pretty disorienting. This can get frustrating especially when you have to navigate around ghosts in the dark through tight spaces which give you little room for maneuvering. This wouldn't be a problem if there was some method to protect yourself from the ghosts. Sadly, there is none. When one of the enemies gets too close to the protagonist, the game ends and you can only return to the latest save. Which wouldn't be a problem if the saving system was more forgiving. Checkpoints are few and far between and are placed at the start and middle of each chapter. In order to manually save, you have to find specially designed armchairs. The problem is that you can't just sit on an armchair you came across. You sometimes must solve a little puzzle or turn on a light in order to be able to save your progress. This will surely not score well with people who have little time to play video games. Thankfully, there is no limit to the times you can save, but you only get one save slot. You can't keep multiple save instances of the game, and starting a new game will overwrite your old file. Overall, the puzzles are simple, but some of them can give you a bit of a headache even if you're a big adventure game fan. Most of them dwell in the move object A to point B territory or push these buttons in the correct order, but they are diverse enough. The fact that the game is somewhat short helps too because you won't really have time to get bored. Of course, the amount of gameplay you get while playing White Knight will vary from player to player. Those who like to explore can get up to 10 hours out of this game, while people who only go for the puzzles can take a lot less. Sadly, as any adventure game before it, the game has little replay value because the story is quite clear at the end, leaving no loose ties, and the puzzles and events are the exact same the second time around. White Knight's easy to recommend to those who are waiting for a good adventure game, those who like horror stories, fans of film noir, and also fans of old school Resident Evil who wish for a similar experience minus the zombie killing. For a debut game from an independent studio, White Knight is a commendable effort, even though it's not quite perfect. I think that the 7 out of 10 is well deserved and hope to see more games from Awesome Studios.